We are live.
All right.
Good afternoon, Ariana. How are you?
I'm good. It's my first time being live.
Awesome. I'm honored to be part of that.
Thank you for asking me.
You bet. Good afternoon to our audience. My name is Brad Etlin. I am a commercial and residential broker with Kale Realty. This is Chicagoans at Home Talkin' Shop, and so happy to be with my good friend and colleague, Ariana Anderson, this afternoon. Ariana's with Knot Standard and is a stylist. Great to have you.
Thank you, Brad. I appreciate it.
You bet. So happy Monday. Did you have a fun weekend?
I did. I was working most of the weekend, but it was beautiful weather. I did get out to the conservatory. Anyways, the botanical gardens. There we go. I saw that.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
It was a beautiful, beautiful weekend to get there. What about you?
Awesome. Yeah, it was low key, beautiful weather, lots of walking and trying to get back into my jogging routines. So
For
lots
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
outdoor stuff. All right. So before we jump into the set of questions that I have here, I always like to kick things off with some fun ones to help our audience get to know who you are and things that excite you. So what's your favorite Chicago restaurant?
Without a doubt, my favorite restaurant in Chicago has always been Scofflaw. It's a gin cocktail bar, also a restaurant, but just has all my favorite things. It's got hamburgers and French fries and fresh baked chocolate chip cookies, and then just like a really nice atmosphere, Motown music and mismatched antiques and some great cocktails. So yeah, what about you?
Is Scofflaw is that in Logan Square?
Yeah, it's in the
Okay,
Logan
I know what that
area,
is.
kind of near Humboldt.
Yeah, for sure. For me, I would say one of my favorites is Honeymoon. It's on Argyle. It's Chinese food.
Okay.
Yeah, write that one down. It's excellent. I like to do takeout from there. It's good stuff. Right on Argyle and Broadway. And
I've seen it. I don't think I've ever been in though.
yeah, actually, my girlfriend told me about it. I hadn't heard of it before either, and we're there about once a week now, so
Awesome.
recommended. Yeah, and tell us what is one of your most memorable vacations you've had?
I know that I should have thought about this a little bit more before,
Good.
I've loved so many vacations. I love traveling. I've been to Paris several times though, and that's probably the most memorable. I just love that city. It's so beautiful. The food is delicious, and I mean, there's so much fashion. There's so much art. It's the first place I want to go back to when borders open.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paris is great.
What
Totally
about
agree.
you?
I maybe 20 years ago, I think my first job was this internship. I worked in South Africa, Pretoria, South Africa.
Very cool.
And when I was down there over the holiday break, I took 2 weeks and I went on this safari through Southern Africa.
Yeah.
So I went to Cape Town and Namibia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Zambia. And I slept, yeah, it was like a 10-day trip. It was like definitely the best vacation I've ever been on. And we like slept in the desert, with like hyenas like around the tents. It was crazy, crazy, crazy experience.
Would you go back?
For sure. I would go to a different part of Africa. I'd probably go to eastern, like northeastern, like Kenya area. But for sure, it's like, it's totally different world and something that anyone would appreciate. So for sure.
I actually spent a semester in West Africa. I mean, different, I know, but still a wonderful experience. And that was really where I got my passion for custom tailoring as well, because it's so normal there. Everything, your family just has a tailor that you go to. You've been going to your whole life. They know your taste, your aesthetic, your body, and you design all your pieces together for the big events of the year. And then I apprenticed with a tailor there that I got really close with, and just a wonderful, wonderful experience. But yeah, I would love to go back there as well.
What a crazy experience. So that's something I knew nothing about. So where were you? Which country?
Senegal. I was
Wow.
in Dakar, so the capital. So it's very busy, very busy city. I spent a little bit of time on a couple of trips in more remote desert areas, but it was an amazing experience. I mean,
So cool.
Yeah. I guess when I say vacation, I kind of forget that was a vacation in a sense as well, but I was there for 5 months, so a little while.
Wow, that's awesome. They speak French there, right?
They speak French, yep. And then they have local languages obviously as well. So
Right.
local language, but I had studied French in school in order to have school there and to communicate on a basic level at least.
Cool. Well, I speak a little bit of French too, because I'm from Toronto and we take it through 10th grade. So broken French, but sometime we'll have to chit chat a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Toronto. Right. That's a great city.
Okay, so let's get into some questions here. I'm really excited to hear more about you and your profession. Again, we have Ariana Anderson with Knot Standard. She's a stylist. And tell us a little bit about Knot Standard. When I met you and I learned about the fashion industry, Trunk Club came to my head. But tell us about Knot Standard.
Yeah. So, and in some ways, people who have familiarity with the way Trunk Club used to be run, there's some similarities for sure. They don't have their custom elements anymore. So we actually have some of their old stylists who really love that format as well. But we are completely custom. Menswear, though, perhaps maybe in the future that'll be expanding a little bit. So it started about a decade ago in New York, and since then has expanded to 10 showrooms across the country. So we actually have a really great spread of stylists all around the country, like myself, who are trained to specifically design garments based on our clients' body, lifestyle, and personal aesthetics. So we have thousands of fabrics to choose from. We have no pre-existing inventory. So we can make something, exactly to your specifications, right? We can choose your thread color, your buttons, add some fun embroidery, that kind of thing. And there's no additional cost, right? Because all the customizations and tailoring are included, since we're not adjusting something that's already been made to fit you, we're making it just for you. So that cuts down on, honestly, some costs for everyone involved, which is wonderful. Sure. And a lot less wasteful for the environment, which is great too. Yeah.
Okay, so great.
That's it.
So warehouse as well, like you guys have a warehouse, or is it online? Okay.
No warehouse. So we don't have an inventory, so we don't have to store anything. So when we're ordering a fabric for you, we're ordering it from the mill directly. So we have some of the most, we have really great relationships with some of the best mills in the world, in Italy, England, from sheep from all over the world.
Right.
Yeah. So, but we do have the showrooms all across the country.
Okay, got it. And so your clients, is it typical businesswoman, businessman, needs suits and that type of thing for business trips, or?
Yeah. So again, still doing just menswear right now. That I do think expanding in the future. Like I'm wearing a Knot Standard jacket myself. We've been doing it for ourselves for years, but trying to expand that in the future. But I mean, anyone who, really just people who maybe need it for work, or maybe you need it for an event. So my background before I was with Knot Standard was in bridal fashion and doing bridal styling. So I would work with the brides themselves. I did some custom bridal and some alterations, but also styling with the whole wedding party. So helping, the groomsmen and everything as well. So that's a huge passion of mine. But of course, anyone who travels a lot for business, anyone who's client facing, it's super important. But even just, if you want to look good on a regular Tuesday in the office, or, going out to dinner, or even at home, just things that fit well, and, have a really durable lifetime quality to them. So if you know much about like the construction of jackets, none of our jackets are have that glued interfacing, which over time is going to come undone and it's just not going to wear as well. So our pieces are truly investments. So they're going to be something that, if you treat them well, will serve you for years to come.
Okay, good stuff. So certainly our typical workday for many who, in professional type careers has changed. Instead of, commuting down to the Loop to an office, you're sitting in your living room.
Yes, exactly.
And doing business that way. So how have like the fashion needs changed, as a result of COVID? And, what are people asking for at home now that they're not on business trips so much anymore?
Exactly. A lot of shirts, we'll say that.
Okay.
And definitely people are still wearing blazers, depending on, what you do for work. Most people are still going to be wearing, something similar to what they would have worn if they were meeting with, a client in person, say, or, even your boss in person, right? You don't need to, have a fashion show, right? But you need to look put together. So I think a lot of shirts and more stretchy clothing as well. Things are just a little bit more comfortable. So we've launched a line of stretch shirting and actually some stretch jackets and pants as well. So, you're going to look really professional, but you're actually going to be super comfortable. And that's something that's going to be useful, going forwards, I think, as well. Even if we're not fully working from home, I think it's going to be some kind of hybrid. And everyone has now gotten used to a little bit more comfortable clothing, a little bit more comfortable living. And so integrating some of that into more office wear, I think, is part of the future. But yeah, still some blazers and things, but almost no one is wearing, a suit for, a call like this, right? But there are still some smaller events that are happening, some weddings still, again, smaller, and you still need to look good. Those moments are important, and you don't want to forget. You don't want to let those photos be like, oh, I could have looked better in that. So it's still important to look your best.
So if I could pry a little bit further there. So this is a question that I have all the time is, I've been on Zoom meetings where people are wearing suit and tie, and I've been on Zoom meetings where people roll out of bed and have a hat backwards. So what is appropriate?
I do think, and this is the same with if you're meeting with people in person, right? You don't want to look like you want to look like you're attending the same event, right? Even if you're in different spaces, you want to look like you're cohesive with who's around you. So I think you put your audience a little bit. But again, if you're meeting with a client and you would never have shown up in a t-shirt and a baseball cap before, you wouldn't do that with a Zoom meeting either. So that's something to keep in mind. And for someone like me, right, if I'm meeting with you from here, I don't have the beautiful showroom and all of our mannequins on display behind me to really, show how I know what I'm talking about. So that just goes with the overall professionalism, I think, to show up looking nice, in small and subtle ways. And that doesn't have to be extravagant, but, have some thought.
And I'm still a little bit reluctant. I always want to kind of dress like my clients dress. So I'm, particularly with COVID and in our Zoom era, I sometimes even like tone it down, a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, I absolutely do. And I would probably do the same thing with certain clients of mine as well. If I know that they're, wearing their t-shirt that they were just running in or whatever to the Zoom call, maybe they don't need a blazer, right? That kind of relationship, I think, is important. But again, if you're thinking about, you're probably still going to be maybe a little bit more elevated in your dress if you were, meeting with a client showing them a home or something. You're probably going to have put a little more effort in because, you want to show that professionalism while they're coming from whatever is convenient for them. So having, a tad more a sophisticated look, I don't think is a bad thing ever. I think it can just add some credibility. But of course, if your client's showing up and they're wearing a t-shirt, you don't need a suit and tie.
Correct. Okay. Okay, awesome. So seems like there's a lot of kind of custom apparel companies out there, and sorry for my lack of a
Oh,
articulation there. So what differentiates you? What sets you apart from these other stylists out there? And what kind of feedback do you get from your clients?
yeah. So, and this is something that I think is really personal for everyone. So, similar to who do you go to when who do you trust with your hair, right? Someone who gets you, who you feel like is listening to you, isn't just going with their vision. That's something that I think is really important. They're not going to try and upsell you to some extra whatever that you don't really want or need, but you feel pressured into. So I think it's all very similar for your clothing stylist. The main thing that I've heard from clients who've chosen to come to me after maybe working with someone at a different custom clothier would be that they felt like it was too salesy, or they were being pressured into purchasing more than they really felt comfortable with, or that the fit never was quite right. So for me, I'm a little bit unique in the sense that I come from a tailoring background, whereas a lot of stylists, they maybe understand a lot about tailoring, but they haven't necessarily done it themselves. And so that hands-on experience of over a decade of sewing experience for me, I think adds to my ability to really fine tune the fit, which to me is the most important part of custom. And from there, I'm just not a salesperson. I'm not selling you these things because I'm good at selling. I could never sell you a car or a home or anything like that. I don't know. I just don't have the same passion for it. But I genuinely, I've always loved dressing people, and that is just coming from a place of genuine passion and love for making people feel good in their clothing. So
Right.
By all means, I want to get you as many things as you feel comfortable with, but when you tell me, your budget, I'm not going to push you beyond that.
Right.
So I think those are some of the positive feedback that I've heard on, why someone would choose me over working with someone else. But again, some people have a really great relationship with their stylist somewhere else, and I would never really want to take away from that, say. But if you feel like there might be room for improvement, or if you don't have a stylist, by all means, please come see me, and we can chat at least about what it would look like. I'm always happy to just educate people as well. I love doing that, and maybe down the road it's going to be the right time to invest in some custom clothing, or you might have a conversation with someone tomorrow that you're like, oh, you need to talk to, Ariana Knot Standard. So always happy to have conversations and do as much education about, how to dress and how to take care of your clothes as possible.
Okay, awesome, Ariana. And clarify one potential misconception for me. So yeah. I think some people, and before I started shopping for custom clothing, I just assumed it was I'm going to be pay hand over fist for clothing that I can just buy off the rack. Is that necessarily true? Or, what do you have that's affordable for Joe and Jill?
Again, it's more of a comprehensive look at your wardrobe. It's not fast fashion, right? You can absolutely find cheaper stuff out there if you need something and you're on a super tight budget, but it is something that, if you're going to invest in clothing that fits you properly, you don't have to worry about crazy alterations. And, when you're adjusting things, depending on, your sizing as well, some people can buy stuff off the rack and it fits pretty well. A lot of people really can't, because how could, your shoulder equal the same as everyone else's shoulder and neck and waist, etc. So most people are compromising with some element of fit, almost everyone, but so you're going to have to pay for alterations in that sense if you really want to look, put together. And then the same thing with the construction. So when you're investing in something that's, a nicer quality construction that's going to last you, 5 to 10 years, as opposed to something that you're going to wear for just a few months before it starts giving out. That's a very different experience. And you just are going to look better. So you don't need as many garments, I think, as well. So if you have, a few well-fitting suits, you don't feel the need to, look for the next suit that, oh, maybe this one fits a little bit better, works a little bit better for this occasion, etc. So we can really work together to give you a wardrobe that, is easy to wear. You can really maximize what you have in your existing closet too. I am happy to do, closet cleanouts or closet consultations. Clients will always send me, photos of what exists in their closet already that they like. I don't want to know. If you don't like it, doesn't matter. You don't need to keep it anymore. We can look at replacing it. But anything that you already have and you like, and just make sure we're, incorporating those pieces that maybe have already worked for you off the rack into something that, if you had, say, this one type of blazer, would you be able to get, 10 more outfits out of your existing wardrobe and really maximize what you have, because it fits perfectly and you can wear it for all these occasions, etc.
Something you said just really resonated with me. For me, I know half the challenge, for 3/4 of the challenge for me, is figuring out what I need.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
know I like certain things in my closet and not so much other things, but I don't know what I need necessarily.
Yeah, of course. And that's not your job, right? So
Sure, great
if I'm
items.
looking at, I'm thinking about what is best in people's wardrobes on a day-to-day basis. So my knowledge is just going to be much more at the ready, whereas,
Right.
it'd be the same for me. Like I couldn't go and find, the perfect house for me, but you would have a much better sense of, where I should look, where I should even begin, because that's just where your expertise lies. So I think it's always useful to consult an expert, and just to, you save time. You save time and money, I think, truly.
Well, and I can attest, you're so good at what you do, and you're so honest and humble that it's a pleasure working with you.
Thank you, Brad.
So Ariana, all of our audience probably wants to know the question, where can they find you?
Yeah.
Where can they find you?
So you can find me on our website, on the Knot Standard website. If you go to the appointments in Chicago, you'll find my face there. Or you can connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook, Ariana Anderson, and I'm happy to just chat with you on either of those forums. My email as well is ariana.anderson@knotstandard.com.
Okay, and is there a phone where you want people to reach you, or you prefer email and online?
You can, I prefer email and online.
Okay, no problem.
I know you're so good at texting people back, but I feel like it's a lot better for me to have that record of everyone's inquiries. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. So good to have you, Ariana.
So good to chat with you, Brett, and tell me a little bit about what's been happening in your industry with, the Chicago home buying market. I mean, it's a crazy time for every industry, but what has it been looking like right now for you?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for the question. So the Chicago housing market is surprisingly very hot. So despite what's been going on in the economy, the
like
market,
a lot of other industries, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's shocking, but it's true. The market is super hot, and I think there's a couple of factors coming into play there. I think one of probably the biggest one is mortgage rates. 30-year mortgages have been like 2.75%, 15 years, 2.4%-ish. And of course it goes up and down a little bit each day, but money is just so cheap that a lot of renters that have been maybe softly thinking about wanting to become homeowners have been on the sidelines and are now like, finally seeing how cheap it is to own. Yeah. So that's a big factor. And I think the second biggest factor is just low inventory. The Chicago housing market's been hot for so long that there's just been very few homes out there. So that's also kind of feeding this frenzy, and it's so much so that it's not uncommon to have bidding war situations, particularly for single family homes in the kind of $300,000 to $500,000 range.
Well, that's really exciting. So it's good to be a buyer and a seller right now, you're saying, right?
It really is. And it's interesting. And normally I would not say that. It's better to be a seller or one or the other. Yeah. But the reason I say that is prices are very high. So if you're a homeowner and you have plans to either downgrade, to downgrade your home, you're just living in a house and your kids have left for college and you just don't need all that space anymore. Well, your home is, depending on where you live, generally speaking, it's worth, it's worth quite a bit right now. So,
hop on it.
Pardon?
This would be the time to hop on if you've been thinking about it.
Yeah. This is the time, and also because buyers can actually afford to pay more because the mortgages are so low. Their monthly payment might be, the same even if the price was, 5% lower or 10% lower. So the fact that mortgage rates are just so low is making it very, very attractive for buyers and good for sellers that are looking to get out or downsize.
That's awesome. So for like a first time buyer, if you're thinking of buying for the first time, like I've never purchased a home before, but the same kind of idea, thinking about, why are we paying these rent prices right now when it's a good option? What are like some tips or, things to look for in your first time buying a home, or how to get ready to?
Yeah, so I'd say the first thing is, for all of our viewers out there, and we should have this chat at some time too, Ariana, but, if you're even like starting to think about buying a home 1 year, even 2 years down the road, like, let's just chat. You know me, I'm down to earth, easy to talk to. And there's a lot of things that we can do together just to prepare you. And, you're not wasting my time. I love this stuff. I love helping people find homes that they love. But there's a lot of things that we can do together that I can help you do, from finding the right lender to getting your credit score where it needs to be, to helping you set basic parameters for what you might be able to afford. So much that we can do 1 year, even 2 years out, to just kind of better prepare you to enter the marketplace. A couple tips off the top of my head, and I mention these because I know it's been challenges. These have been challenges for buyers in the past. One example is when you're buying a home. Of course, you need a strong credit to get the lowest mortgage rates, right? But some common mistakes that first-time home buyers make is when they've been pre-approved for a loan, before they close, they either make a big charge on a credit card, or they maybe go out and splurge on that couch for their new home before they close.
They're excited, sure.
Yeah, which of course, I mean, who wouldn't be excited about furnishing their first home, right?
Yeah.
But particularly in days like today, despite low mortgage rates, the underwriters that kind of check the parameters for borrowers to make sure that borrowers do qualify and are in line with their borrowing requirements, they're working really, really hard, and they're looking at everything. So if you go out and you buy, despite being pre-approved and having money for a down payment and you're getting ready to close, if you go out and you buy that $3,000 leather couch, that can actually derail your deal. And it happens. It does happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the lenders want to know that you are meeting every single requirement, that you're not over leveraged, that you have emergency cash reserves should you lose your job. They want to know you're going to be able to make your mortgage.
Yeah. This is maybe a bit of a curveball, but I know from working with a lot of, wedding couples that a lot of people at the same time as paying for a wedding are going to be purchasing a home at the same time. How do you recommend doing that? Do you recommend spacing those out, or? I don't know.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
If you're, I would say if you're from a stress alone, it's probably a lot to do at the same time.
It is. I've seen a lot of couples do it, and I don't quite understand why, because they seem very stressed out by it. But, it's a part of excitement, I think, too.
Yeah, I would say, try and enjoy your newlywed days and, get through that. Doesn't mean there's not some basic things that we can do together to plan for that. But especially if you're expecting, cash gifts for your wedding, maybe you'll have a bigger down payment. So enjoy. Yeah, my advice would be, enjoy your wedding, plan it, get it done, and let's talk afterwards.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And then what are some of your favorite neighborhoods right now, or up and coming neighborhoods that you're really seeing a lot of movement in?
Yeah, I'm really liking Albany Park right now. I'm seeing homes that are just appreciating through the roof. So strictly from an investment perspective, some of my buyers are investors who are able to purchase homes that need work, that need, you know, either minor or major renovations, and turn them, flip them, and make handsome profits. So the fact that home prices are jumping so much in the Albany Park neighborhood so quickly tells me that it's kind of an up and coming neighborhood. Humboldt Park, I love. Humboldt Park kind of struggled for a while to appreciate, but that's quickly changed. And Humboldt Park has really become almost like a Logan Square. Everyone wants to be there. So, you know, it's not too far from down. Pardon?
You can be right by Scofflaw.
Just like Scofflaw, exactly. Yeah. So, you know, not too far from the downtown, tons of green space, which is, you know, a lot of green space disappearing in the city, of course. So tons of green space, not too far from the city, price appreciation, but still kind of within reach. So I really like Humboldt Park.
Awesome. So now would be a good time to buy in both of those areas, and either for investment purposes or, you know, to live.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, much of it comes down to the mortgage rates. You know, I don't think mortgage rates are going to be, excuse me, 2.75% forever. You know, could they go down more? Yeah, it's possible. But if you look historically at where mortgage rates have been, they're much higher than 2.75%. And that makes a huge, huge difference on the mortgage payments. So if you can get in now, even, you know, kind of on the fence, wanting to get into your first home, and you get in now, and you know you'll be there for 5 to 10 years. Great time to get in, because you're going to have 2.75% ish for that period.
And this is maybe something that I should know, but how often do the rates change? Is it typical to have them change frequently, or are they pretty stagnant? Yeah,
rates change daily. In fact, multiple times daily.
Wow.
So, and you never, no one.
Yeah.
What?
So get in there now. So there's no guarantee that's going to stay there for.
No guarantee. I mean, could rates go down more? Yes, it's possible. But if you know that you're going to be in your home for 5 years, I would say, then great time to get in, because it's so helpful in terms of your total monthly payment to have an interest rate that low.
Absolutely. That's great to know. Awesome. So if people want to reach out to you for some help on all of that, where should they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Ariana. I can be reached by phone. My mobile is 312-709-3247. You can reach me by email, brad@bradetlin.homes. I'll spell that because no one ever knows. BRADETLIN.homes, HOMES. Or you can check out my website at bradetlin.homes.
Perfect.
So good to have you, Ariana.
Yeah, so nice to learn a little bit more about the Chicago real estate market too. I appreciate it.
Likewise, love learning about the new trends and all that you do at Knot Standard, and hope you will come again.
Yeah, all right. We'll talk soon, Brad. Thank you.
All right. Thank you to our audience. Again, this is Brad Etlin. I'm a broker with Kale Realty. This is Ariana Anderson with Knot Standard, our stylist. And this is Chicagoans at Home Talk and Shop. Look forward to having you all again soon.
Bye.
Bye, Ariana.